Morning. So John has asked me to share this story with you. So last Wednesday, there was news released that a young boy from the next valley over, called Rhys Langford, had recently lost his long-term battle with cancer. Rhys had been in the news a few weeks prior for donating £1,000 of his life savings to a 6-year-old boy in America who's also fighting the same cancer. So on Wednesday, I was working from home and the house phone rang. Now, the only people who has my house phone number is just my mum, as everyone got mobiles these days. So I didn't get to the phone in time, so I did 1471. Now, as many of you are the same, if it's an 0800 number, you just hang up and don't bother to ring it back. But this time it was an 01633 number, so I pressed 3 to redial. A lovely old lady answered, asking if I was Mrs. Langford. I knew straight away who she was referring to, as it was all over the news. I said, no, this is Lydia, and she apologised and introduced herself. Her name is Vilma, 82 years old, from Mackin in Newport. She went on to explain that she had seen the newspaper and was so heartbroken to read that Rhys had passed away, that she had prayed for him and his family every night and wanted to get in contact. She had spent the whole morning going through the phone book, dialing numbers under Ebervale and Beaufort, all under the name Langford. She said, what are the chances of me coming through to you? This number was supposed to be for someone called David Langford in Beaufort. God has done this for a reason. I knew this was a calling and I had to help her. Vilma started telling me about how she'd seen in the newspaper about a fundraising page, but it is all done online. Vilma had said she doesn't have access to all of that, so instead wanted to write a letter and a cheque to send to the family. Now, as most of you know, Facebook can't find anyone, so I offered to help Vilma find the address of the family so she could send her letter. She was so happy, she got her writing paper out whilst still on the phone with me. So fast forward 24 hours, I had an address from a relative who would relay the letter on to his mum. I have a mutual friend who happened to be in school with someone who knows the family. Again, what are the chances? I rang Vilma back that afternoon. She had already written her letter and cheque. Envelope was sealed and stamped, just waiting for my call. She was delighted. She jotted down the address and we went on to chat. At this point, it was like talking to a friend. We talked about rugby. She's a big Dragons supporter and remembers coming to Pontypool Park to watch Pontypool versus Newport in the 70s with Bobby Windsor in the Pontypool front row. She goes on to tell me that she was born in her house in 1939, and although finds it hard now being alone, she couldn't bear to move. Her mother and father are still there with her in spirit. We talked about church, hers in Newport and ours here in Abersycon. She was in awe of Nodfa and how many people attended every week. There was such a sadness to her voice when she told me they have single figures in her church on Sundays. We are so blessed here at Nodfa to have each other and God. 45 minutes later, addresses exchanged, we said our goodbyes. I told her that if she ever needed someone to talk to in the day, or if she's bored as she is alone, she could call me. She said, don't be so silly. I'm working, I'm too busy. I said, no, not at all. I'm working from home. I've got my house phone on me at all times, so there is no excuses. Just call whenever. Before ending the call, she thanked me and said, oh, sorry. Oh. Can you carry on?
I get a lot of stick for crying up here. There's something about being up here, isn't it, Liz? I was completely overwhelmed with emotion. I broke down the feeling I had.
She said this bit though.
Oh, right there. I'll call whenever. Before ending the call, she thanked me again and said, you are a credit to your mother. God bless you. I was completely overwhelmed with emotion. I broke down the feeling I had. I can't explain. I knew this was someone who I needed to keep in contact with. I rang her again this week before the storm to check she was okay. She said that just before I rang, she was looking out the window thinking of me and said, what are the chances? God works in mysterious ways. He knows we have much in common. There is a reason she has come across my path. I don't know what that may be, yet, but I have faith. I have faith in God and his plan. As my wonderful Cosmin says, there are no such thing as coincidences. It's just God's way of remaining anonymous. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Oh, round of applause, please. Thank you.
Excellent.